This one is called the pants. Take 8.
Welcome to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, the best-looking guys on the radio. We all know the funniest things happen when we stop taking ourselves too seriously and step out boldly, like Mr. Magoo blindly stepping onto the next swinging girder and falling into an outrageous jackpot. Your hosts, Darrell and Ed, are about to administer a refreshing dose of laughter and love that will inspire you to step out boldly and experience the funniest things. Now, here are your hosts, Darrell and Ed.
Hey!
Hey!
Welcome to the funniest thing.
Each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly
Always lead to better than expected outcomes.
That's right.
I'm Darrell.
And I'm Ed.
And
This week's show is called
Pass the Bread, Here Comes... No, we actually have to share that. It was given to us by Sister Techla.
Yes.
A friend of ours. Inspired the title of this show, so I have to say it like she says it.
Yeah, do it.
Oh, brother. Pass the bread, here comes the bologna.
That's exactly how she said it.
So instead of using it, what she meant in that time was when someone else starts talking BS.
That's right.
Both Ed and myself realized, wait a minute, sometimes we give our own mind, our own minds tell us baloney.
The truth is, when we first heard it, I said, that has to be the title of a show. And only after the fact did we realize, wait, this is perfect because this is what we talk about every week.
That's right.
And you said it, with what we tell ourselves. That's the baloney we really have to be aware of.
And since we're not recording live at Unity Online Radio on Unity.fm. Unity.fm. Today we're recording. We snuck once again into middle school studios.
Yes.
In Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Yes, and it is good to be here. You might notice we have jackets on. It dipped into the, 60s today?
Whoa, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, so anyway, why don't we start with 3 breaths?
Okay, what do we got?
Well, should we just jump right into it since this show is called Pass the Bread, Here Comes the Bologna? Right. All right, so first thing, let's take a nice clearing breath.
Should we tell them what it is?
No.
Okay.
Don't eat the bologna.
Why?
It's spoiled.
Don't eat the bologna.
Why?
It's spoiled.
Don't eat the bologna. Why? It's spoiled. That was easy.
Yeah, we usually have our sound engineer, Jeff Comfort.
Yes, we do. And we send our love to him right now. Hopefully he's enjoying his break.
So today we have to do our own sound effects.
Yes. And we have a little Eric the Butterball Butterworth reading for you from his book, Spiritual Economics. All of our books are on Goodreads.com, and how do they find it once they go there?
Just put in the search word Darrell and Ed.
Darrell and Ed. So we love this book, Spiritual Economics. And when he's speaking about baloney, did you want to add something?
Yes, we should also let our listeners know and viewers know there's another great show on Unity Online Radio titled Discovering Eric Butterworth, which both Ed and myself enjoy listening to. I listen to it every evening. And you'll hear a lot of great stuff from Eric Butterworth.
It is in the archives on Unity.fm or UnityOnlineRadio.org. So, once again, this comes from page 72 out of Spiritual Economics. This is about baloney that we tell ourselves.
Yes.
It says, few persons use more than a small part of the tremendous God power within. In most cases, the problem is faulty self-evaluation. For instance, you may say, I'm an average sort of person. This leads to the subconscious acceptance of the wisdom of the world, which proclaims, the chances of success for the average person in this enterprise is about 1 in 7. But why be an average person? Let go of I can't and begin to identify yourself as God's living enterprise. You are not just an average person, you are you. a unique individualization of the universal creative process. And he says, affirm for yourself, I can because I am.
Yes. And everything we say after I am reinforces the fact. So even if I'm saying, oh, why bother? I'm never going to do that. What am I, crazy thinking I'm actually like putting that deep in my subconscious.
Yes.
And our circumstances coincide with our inner life and the things we believe. We don't get what we want. We get what we believe. And that's why our words have power.
Yeah, just this morning when I was in the ocean, that's one of my head clearing activities is surfing. We could talk all about all the baloney I tell myself.
We got an upcoming episode.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But when I was there today, when I was walking out and I was relaxed, I realized the problem with the baloney is once I believe it, I start thinking about ways to make it better, or who's to blame, or how am I going to be right? How am I going to win? But the problem is the faulty premise from the very beginning. The baloney is not real.
Yeah, right.
So I walked out of that ocean saying, thank God I didn't try to solve all the problems I thought I had earlier.
That's right.
Because they're not even real.
Right. It's just a thought. That's what I got to remind myself. This is just a thought, and it's not a good one.
That's
That's why labeling it as baloney.
Yes.
Pass the bread. Here comes the baloney.
Yes.
Any thought that doesn't elevate you or myself or makes me feel enthusiastic.
Right.
The reason it feels yucky or I start to feel uncomfortable doesn't mean that's the truth. It's just like the red light on your car. Yes. When that comes on, it doesn't mean, oh no, everything's falling apart. What's this? It means, whoop, something needs to be taken care of here. And for this, when I start feeling funky, it means my thoughts are going in the wrong direction.
Right. And I used to think with the spiritual stuff, I would take all that fear and all that like adrenaline that comes along with it, and I try to change myself. But what I realize is changing my thoughts is really as simple, as we heard Butterworth saying earlier, not always easy, but as simple as saying, and this is what I've been doing over the last couple days, is saying, I wonder what other thoughts are available to me right now, other than these. Because I get so used to thinking those thoughts, and lately I've come to realize that in the morning, in the past, the problem has not been that there's a big problem to solve. The problem has been that I've been believing there's a big problem to solve. So all the action I took out of that place just added to the whole problem, the whole illusion of there being a problem in the first place.
Yeah, two things I use. One I use is the thought, there's another way of looking at this.
Yes.
And that kind of goes, whoop, and my mind bumps a little bit off track. Or if I'm really stuck, because sometimes when you're in this, it's hard it's simple to change your thought, but it's not easy because you'll still have the leftover emotion.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that it's possible, right?
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, is to believe there's another way of looking at it.
So I'll just tell myself, I am happy, I'm enthusiastic, and I'll do something that affirms life. Move a muscle, change emotion, where it's walking up the hill, or some other thing, cleaning the dishes in the sink. Anything that affirms life or heading into a healthier...
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a big deal, because the big mistake I'll make is, I got to do something big, heroic to change this, and that just leads to even more, oh, what's the use?
Yeah, even for me sometimes, if I'm really in my head, writing the affirmative thought, like, because now my hand, and I'm like, wow, something in my brain starts to believe it more because I'm writing it, you know? And so I really think you're onto something with the move a muscle and change an emotion.
I don't have my little pad, so I can't even show everyone that I'm actually writing that thing nonstop.
I think I might have seen it, but why don't we read the Daily Word, since our good friend Laura Harvey, or any of our friends from our audience aren't here with us today to read it.
So we're going to read them live in person. We strongly recommend for your morning routine to subscribe to the Daily Word.
Yes.
And it's great. I tear the page out and keep it with me. You could also get the app for your phone.
Yes.
Very inexpensive. It comes to like 3 cents a day, and you can subscribe at
dailyword.com.
That's right.
Yes.
And today's is self-discipline, and we used to think the word discipline was a dirty word.
Yes. Ugh.
But it's really not the way they describe it.
You know why? Because I used to think discipline meant punishment.
That's right. But it doesn't.
No. So we'll find out what it really means now.
I reap the benefits. It's self-discipline. I reap the benefits of self-discipline. self-discipline. This is for Friday, January 3rd, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
The words disciple and discipline derive from the word for pupil or student. As a student of life, I learn continuously and apply what I discover to my daily activities.
Mm.
Just as Jesus' disciples sought to follow him and learn from his teachings, I too seek to learn new ways of being and put them into practice. Conscious of my physical and spiritual well-being, I develop constructive habits and routines that promote transformation, and I experience positive results.
Yes.
Self-discipline is not a hardship.
Mm-mm.
It is the key to growth. As I adopt good habits, I honor and reward myself. Through discipline, I reap the benefits of good health, peace of mind, and abundant living. And then the
Bible verse.
The Bible verse, which I used to just skip over that, but
Right.
now I try to look at them as positive quotes that are really old. And this one says, "For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline." And that's from 2 Timothy 1:7. I like that it says, I adopt good habits, because in 12-step groups, a simple way that it's been put is, recovery is about replacing bad habits with good habits.
Yeah.
And when I simplify things like that, big changes become possible in my mind.
Right.
And this goes right into this story of the
Yes.
self-discipline.
Let me tell you one thing before you tell the story,
Oh,
because
I'm
I love
so
the
excited.
story. Is one thing I like about that is it says discipline is equated with the word student.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Because when I am miserable, I think I know it all. There's no other way to look at this. I know it all. And at that point, I'm no longer a student of life. And
And I
gotta
feel
soften.
sick when I do that to
Yeah,
myself.
so I got to soften and just wonder, is there another way of looking at it? Become a student of the situation.
And yes, and remind myself that the power of transformation is in love, not condemnation.
Yes.
And when I'm doing this, I'm doing that to myself. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to grow. Because now I'm becoming even more.
Yes. See, now there's a reason that I stopped you for the story, because this leads perfectly into a practical example. That
Oh
you
my
have.
God, this happened just 3 days, not even 2 days ago.
Oh, that's recent?
Yes.
I thought this was years ago.
No, the car.
Okay.
This was just 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you this.
I see.
But I told my friend Rod this.
I see.
Actually, I was calling Rod on the phone when it happened, so he probably has it on his message.
We love Rod. Hello, Rod.
Rod's a fan and listener and friend of ours here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he helps us keep it together.
Yes, he does. So there's a fork with several traffic lights in the heart of Screenland, Culver City.
That's right.
And I was navigating around this fork, with traffic, with the green light. And I was the first car with the green light, and there was a car apparently beside me on my right. I'm on my right, which can end up in my blind spot.
Yes.
So I start curving around, and then I get to the next light, and the car that was apparently alongside of me, this little green Prelude, pulls alongside of me. Now, my windows are up, right? And his windows are up.
Right.
And it's like this tough-looking, black guy with the ball cap, and he's looking at me like something, like he's definitely upset.
Yeah, so you have that moment where this guy's looking at you and he's not happy.
Now, here's the thing. My whole life, up until discovering these unity principles and this new thought and this belief in a loving, benevolent universe, I believed life either had to be something to master or endured.
Yes.
And master me. I got to figure out what's the secret.
Yeah, like conquer.
Tony Robbins. I got to find the missing system that I need. Why can't? But living like that put me in a state. I would constantly one of two things. I was either fighting or hiding out.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
So this is what happened. So I see this guy's looking at me, and I'm like, oh shit. And I feel I have two choices. One, just ignore him, pretend nothing's happening, and that's the hiding out.
Right.
And the other one is, just blast him, because that'll protect me too. Just go, what? What's going?
Make him wrong.
Make him wrong, right? Go on the defensive.
Yes.
But my gut, because now practicing stuff, when you do a morning routine, your inner life, your inner spirit talks to you. You can't ignore it. So it goes, I think, I can even hear it go, you probably cut him off and didn't know it.
Oh, man.
So I bless the situation. I press the button. My window goes down. I look right at him. But because I'm not looking at him with a fight, because it changed, like I could feel I wasn't upset and I wasn't afraid. And I already knew my part.
Right.
And I was willing to accept that.
Yes.
And he rolls down his window and his face went, it turned like to like peaceful. And he said, do you realize that you cut me off back there? And I said, no, but I do now. And he said, oh man, I didn't think you knew that either. And I said, man, I am so sorry. I had no idea you were there. And I didn't blame him. I didn't go, you were in my blind spot. I just flat out, claimed it. Yeah. And I felt so in love with this guy. I felt like he was my best friend after that. I love that. And it gets even better. So he pulls ahead, and then he had to make a left turn a few, quarter mile ahead. So he stopped in the left to turn, and I just felt compelled. Beep, beep. And all of a sudden I hear as I'm passing, beep, beep. It was like, I'm going, that could have went so many ways that were wrong. If I listened to the baloney, and the baloney's always out of fear.
And you stepped through your heart into a loving world.
It was
all of a
awesome.
sudden it became a loving world, right?
Yeah.
And that is the best that you can hope for. That's everything we read about. And just to, Speaking of reading, right before we were getting ready for the show, I went out to the recycling bin and found the potatoes, which I write articles for.
I think got the recycling bin quick because that just came out yesterday.
Just came out, so that kind of was humbling, yes. Because inside there is an article that I wrote about this local chiropractor, this loving guy.
Very loving. We both met him.
Yeah, he's
coincidentally
an amazing guy. You could just see in his eyes he's a loving guy. And
we met him by accident. It wasn't like someone pushing and shoving. No. We were on a walk one day. Yeah. And he was just a jolly guy. We're like, hey, how you doing? He goes, oh, I just moved into the neighborhood.
Yes. So I wrote a loving article. It's great. I'm sure it'll do well for his business. It has all the details and everything, but it also ties it into always having hope, because this is perfect for what we were just talking about. There's always another way of looking at things. Yes. And he has another way of looking at healing that for people who are in pain. Yeah. His name is Dr. Poe Lechnicus, and he's right here at Motion Wellness in Culver City. I know. Yeah, I had to type it like 20 times.
Before you could say it?
Yeah.
Poe Lechnicus.
Yeah. So, but long story short, I wrote the article. It came out. Then this morning I woke up and my mind's like thinking of all the ways that he's going to call me and tell me he didn't like it or I put in the wrong information.
Isn't baloney?
I know, man. It was so good.
Pass the bread. Here comes the baloney.
Here comes the baloney. Just let that go. So, I know that we have...
What do we got? A funniest thing?
We have funniest things, but we also... I think I hear Gabby coming.
Yes, we do. We can't hear her as loud as... Gabby! Okay.
Gabby! Well,
she only comes in here when we sing.
You can't see her, but she's right down here. Here, hand me that piece of mail.
What do you got? Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, look, it's on my phone. Here we go. So, this one comes from Sandy Page in Illinois.
From an undisclosed location.
From an undisclosed location. It says, hey, I just wanted to drop a note telling you guys that I've been listening to older episodes of your show. Yes, I was jonesing for you both. And wow, it's so cool to hear stuff that may not have been heavily relevant the first time I listened, but is currently perfect for the moment. One of the things that Darrell was talking about in the episode was learning about pies, physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. Although I've never heard it explained like that, I do know that I need balance in my life. And for a few days before I listened to this show again, I had been pondering this very idea. Later on, I sat down and actually drew my pie chart, and it was just the visual tool that I needed. I hope you both had a wonderful Christmas and happy New Year to both of you.
And for a real description on pies, you'll have to listen to the past episode, and we're going to have to ask Sandy to post which episode that was on.
Yes.
We can't remember.
Yeah, so Sandy, if you're watching, please post in a comment the name of the episode
that we talked about pies.
Yeah. And
speaking, one last baloney story.
Oh, yeah. Is this your funniest thing for the week?
Funniest thing baloney story.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
Okay, funniest thing baloney story. Last week, right before Christmas, a friend on Facebook, an acquaintance on Facebook, not even a friend, wanted a copy of What if Godzilla just wanted a hug? And he contacted me because he saw the book signing that was going to happen here in town, and he couldn't make it. That was on the 21st of December.
Yes.
So he sent me a message via Facebook and said, you know, I really want to get my girlfriend or wife really would love a signed copy. I can't get up there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I'd be able to get one before Christmas, but if you could send me one. Mm-hmm. And you know what I said? I texted him back. I felt so good, and so it was such a good compliment. I 100% trusted in God.
Yes.
And I just said, sure, no problem. And I told him exactly how much it would cost.
Yes.
Priority mail. I said, I'll get there in 2 days. He goes, great, send it to my office because I'll get it Tuesday. I'm working Tuesday, the day before Christmas.
Nice.
I said, no problem. I sent him the book.
Right.
Threw it in the mail, said it. Took a picture of the tracking number, sent it to him on Facebook.
Right.
And boom. Then, a few days later, Bologna. I start thinking, he probably got the book. Because with tax and with the shipping, it came to $19, and I'm going, no. I guess, well, I'm a nice guy, so I'll get rewarded. So I'm already, like, starting to doubt. And then I had to keep choosing another way. No, you 100% trusted. He's not going to do that. And anytime I thought negative, I remember this Florence Scovel Shin story where anytime the person said, these people aren't going to pay me back, she said, no, I believe these people feel good about paying their debts. It makes them feel good.
That's exactly
right, isn't it? And I go, yeah, he feels great. Sure enough, I talked to my wife yesterday morning. I go, I don't know if that guy's going to pay me. Well, less than, 2 hours later, Gabby brought in the mail, and she goes, here, you got something. And what it was a letter with my handwriting on it. Mm-hmm. So I thought, what the heck? What is this, returned mail? Who did I send that to? Well, I forgot that I sent him a self-addressed stamped envelope.
Right.
With a thank you card so he could easily, put the check in it. And then I opened it up, it says, no, thank you, is what I read first, because I was filled out. So I thought, oh man, this guy doesn't like the book. Right? And then I go, wait a minute, Darrell, sober up. And I read it again. No, thank you. Well, I open it up. There's a check in there, not for $19, for $30. And he wrote, this was worth way more to me and my wife. Yes. Thank you. And I'm going, man, talk about baloney.
Goodness
I like ye of little faith.
Yeah, right.
Jesus would have kicked me out of the boat.
Yes. Right? Throw you in.
Ye of little faith.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I believe now.
And that's why it's so important to let go of the baloney, because the good is really happening. That's what's really happening.
And you know what? I'm here to make my wife feel smart because she got to say, and you were doubting now.
Yes.
So made her feel good too.
Well, that's good. So anyway, this has been a great show.
Yes.
And, I
think it reminds us of a little ditty.
It does remind us of a little ditty.
You ready?
My baloney has a first name, it's your good will not appear. My baloney has a second name, it's worry, doubt, and fear. I used to eat it every day, and if you ask me why, I'll say, my wormy mind, it has a way of BOLOGNA. Yeah.
Subscribe to Funniest Thing Podcast on iTunes. It's easy. Just go to the iTunes store or to the iTunes app on your phone. We love to hear from you. Send all of your stories, comments, and suggestions to funniestting@unityonlineradio.org. Follow us on Twitter at Darrell and Ed. And find the Funniest Thing fan page on Facebook and like it. Thank you for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on Unity Online Radio.
Message. Your message from...
Is this very high?